Alright, I swore my video backlog was too large and I should stop recording stuff that wasn't the upcoming TTAC. But I thought this would be fun, and I also thought I should have commented something within, like, 20 a few weeks of a major event. Like, I should be somewhat in. I'm used to looking at triple triad form. So it's turns to move. My standard thing to do, of course, is look at the opponent's hand and just check out their directionality. Akiyama's hand looks a little weak to the right. There are tens in every other direction, but there's some backup strength in every other direction. Up also strikes as potential weakness, right? There's some tricky stuff to take there. Now, sadly, those eights to the right beat most of our things to the left, so the only card that could really try to take advantage of this is Phoenix. And there is an attempt to play Phoenix in 3, right? Because if A854 takes, you have the combo back with 9945. And if 861A takes, I was going to just write this off and not look any further, but we do have A177. Now, they can then combo that back with A854, and we probably just lose at the end of that. Looking if there's a setup in 4, I don't see it. So, okay, this probably doesn't work, but also, Phoenix in 3 can just be retaken by 9945 and 2. So, if they do take immediately, we have a response. So I think the reason not to go Phoenix in 3 is twofold. One is it is evidently quite a powerful card in our hand. One thing we could do is if we started on the left, we would know this card like constantly as captures against almost anything facing down left. For instance, if we started something in 7, but we don't have a natural card to put there. But if we did, I could see the argument being, okay, Phoenix is just going to dominate facing the action, right? It can take anything going up with its double sevens except for the 8 if it's on the top row, and it can take anything that it's to the left of. That said, doesn't seem like we can really set that up appropriately. So let's start looking back at that strong corner, even though I don't think that's really what Turdz should do. I think you kind of don't want 9945, 9864, and 9495 in your hand. We should check the rules to make sure I'm looking at the right things. I am not, because there is no plus wall. So ignore everything I said. Let's start over. No plus wall. That means raw power matters a bunch more, so checking for directional stuff actually can become significantly more relevant. My instinct would be I do not want both 9945 and 9864 in my hand. I also suspect that 9495 won't have much play, right? Especially without plus wall, but its 9's going up. They have a 10 and a 9 facing down. It's going to have a lot of trouble taking. Its 9 going down. There's a 10 facing up. It is my only card with much down, so it's not like top priority to get out of my hand. But I'd really love to be able to play 9864 or 9945 in 7. Because, right, Phoenix wants to face left. Pandemonium wants to face kind of up left. 9495 doesn't care too much. So the rest of the hand, except those two cards, generally is pretty happy to go left. But it's not super comfortable. Maybe 9864 in 1. I don't like having Phoenix as the only recapture, though. I feel like that's pretty exploitable. Like, they can draw Phoenix out of our hand whenever they want to. But 9864 in 1 seems like a possible starter. I also haven't thought about, is there anything we need to stop our opponent doing? You know, do they have some big corner we can't deal with? And I think the answer is as long as we have the two A's and 9495 in their hand, they have nothing that's at least immediately safe, which again leads me to try to get rid of 9945 or 9864, but I'm really not sure where they belong. The easiest place in one sense to recapture them is 3, but in another, you can't recapture them there at all because 3 of your cards have no right, and those are the cards I'm trying to hold on to. So I think this is actually really ugly, and it makes sense Turds is thinking so long. I have no idea what I would do here. I think I'd chuck something in 1 or 7 and feel just bad about it and just try to play from there. guess 9864 and 1. So he plays 9864 and 3, and Akiyama just takes immediately. The rightward game is going to be very uncomfortable for Turdz. Okay. That said, do we have anything fun we can do here? I think the answer is simply no. Now, Turdz did a lot of what I wanted, but I do think the game going right is very difficult for him, and Akiyama is immediately going for that. Now, there's a certain type of player, like Vialva and Tezuka maybe, who would consider A177 and 5. I tend not to, but it can be okay. I think the problem is it just gives up safety in 6 too easily. So you probably start in 6. Which card? Well, my instinct is 9495. I think we need 9945, and I think the 10s are useful. A177 gives us a threat in 5. 727A seems like enough power. You could start. There's some chance you can calculate out something. I don't think this works, but like Phoenix in 6 is kind of forcing, right? Phoenix in 6 will be met by 861A in 9. And then if you go Pandemonium in 5, it's 5/5, and you have one thing potentially attackable on board. Do you have a tie there? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think you lose to a 5/3/7A and 8. Okay, so hard to force the action. But the reason I like checking moves like Phoenix in 6 is because I think it is forcing. I can check a narrow line, and if that narrow line, like, I don't go into it, like, I don't start looking at Phoenix 6 thinking this is probably a tie. I go into it thinking this is probably a loss, but it is still an efficient use of my time to check because I think I can check it fairly quickly. And if it does tie, then I have a tie, right? Well, if I'm checking something like Shiva in 6 or 9945 in 6, my opponent has a lot more options, and I'm not going to be able to narrow down into, okay, this is a tie. I know I can hold a tie. A really unpleasant position, though. I think this is very bad. I don't see any way to kind of set up anything. I think, like, no, that does nothing. It all does nothing. So I think you have to chuck something in 6. You don't have safety in 1. I do like to go in 1 a lot here, but I think they just take us and we're just running out of stuff. Um, unless you can induce A854 that gives you some setup now, but I don't see why it would. Oh, actually, if you play in 1 and can induce A854 and 4 and still have Shiva in your hand, Shiva 8 sets up 9945 in quite beautiful fashion. But anything you could put in 1 that isn't one of those 2 cards doesn't have to be taken by A854, and Akiyama doesn't have to take it all in the first place. So I think 1's really unappealing. I think you got to try to make something work in 6. I think it can't be 9945. That's just kind of, maybe I'm not calculating specifically enough, and it is that, but I think you just can't give up your right power. You need a recapture to the right. And so it's gotta be Shiva or Pandemonium. And I think it should be Shiva, just on general principles, because it's the only card where 861A can't just slot safely into 9. I mean, it can, but it doesn't take 6, and because it doesn't take 6, you have time to put Pandemonium in 5. And you're really trying to, play in 5 and have captured both 2 and 6. Otherwise, it's just horrible. So I kind of think it has to be Shiva in 6, but I also, like, I think this is really unpleasant, and that could easily be a losing move, and there could be something more specific that a player is going to look to calculate, but I'm not, right? This is round 2 of the tournament for my records. Round 2, level 9, same plus same wall combo, and we have Turdz, Akiyama, and Turdz has gone 9864 in 3, and Akiyama went 2699 in 2 almost immediately. And Turdz goes far away. Okay. This wasn't something I was considering. The solver likes these moves more than I do. I tend to only do them when I think I don't have a way to interact with the cards in play, but I don't think they have a good way to either. And here it seems to me that Akiyama should have many good ways to interact with the cards on board. But I could be wrong, right? And there's a lot of choices. Do you go 1? Do you go 6? Do you attack immediately? Akiyama quite likes to take things immediately. 5, 3, 7, A, and 8. Is there anything wrong with that? I mean, it looks like that might just be really strong. So I would have gone Shiva in 6, I think, but just miserably unhappily, and it probably, like, Turdz just calculated, okay, he goes 5, I go 9, he takes an 8, yeah, I lose that endgame. Seems very plausible, right? Alright, he takes an 8 with a different card, but takes quite quickly. Yeah. It just seems like this is a move that at best can obscure the position, but it just seems like it creates more problems to me. Alright. Did we set anything up? Do we now have Phoenix in 6? No. Do we now have Pandemonium in 6? No. Incidentally, the best way to make it sound like I'm on your side during a game is to take longer than the opponent, so I spend more time getting into the mindset of what you're doing, which is why when, like, Akiyama plays, I am never in his mindset because I'm thinking for a while about the opponent's decision, and then his decision comes immediately, and then I'm back to thinking about his opponent's decision, and that's going to make it very much feel to me like, okay, we're thinking from Turd's perspective. We do have safety in 9, so that's presumably the plan. Take what we can get. But we need 9495 or 727A to sweep on the left at some point because we just can't take things to the right, so it needs to be like an up-down sweeper, and it doesn't sweep up-down. There's nothing that sweeps up-down. So for instance, if Pandemonium 9, 537A6, Phoenix 5, like, I just play with an A facing whatever, and you can't take anything on the final turn, and you're just still behind. So that's not really an answer. Which might lead to thinking, okay, start with Phoenix in 9, then if you play 537A, now I can play Pandemonium in 5, and at least I took something to catch up. But A854 captures Pandemonium while being safe, and B, when you play something like Phoenix in 9, they don't have to go with the A out, they could also capture it, and that's going to be safe too, because we have no right power, because our first 2 moves, we used all the right power in our hand. And I really wanted to get one of those cards out of the hand, but I didn't think we wanted both cards out of the hand. On the other hand, like, I'm being somewhat critical of these moves. I did not have better answers, right? I think there is a very good chance this was either lost or effectively lost. Like, the solver finds some weirdo save in 8 or 9, whatever. Like, humans are going to find those moves with such infrequency. Like, if there's a move you find 10% of the time and you didn't find it this time, that doesn't mean you suck. That means that's a move, like, you find at most 10% of the time. So, I don't know what to do here. I'd say if we had up-down sweepers, then my instinct would be to go for the Z, but we don't really have up-down sweepers. But maybe Pandemonium 5 is the best move. I think you just lose 6-4, though, to very straightforward, like, A up in 4, A down in 6. you really want to go 4 here. 4 is the square that you'd love to go. 4 is the square you could potentially set up some actual play. You could lock in a card in 7, and you could make the game left oriented, but can't do it. Maybe 1 then. Maybe you go 1. Not entirely sure which card, but if you go 1, they can't really play A8, 5, 4, and 4 as long as you have Pandemonium. It doesn't seem to get anywhere, though. You're just going to be down too much. Yeah, I think this is over. I also keep forgetting that plus wall is or isn't on, or like stop considering same wall as a possibility, but they're never going to be same walls here. My brain has turned off both wall rules, but I think that doesn't actually mean it's gotten anything wrong here. Yeah, I think this is over. I think really unpleasant random and a difficult way for it to play out. I'm curious if 6 was losing. I mean, it may have just been losing straightforwardly to some move in 5, 8, 9, 1, right? There are so many squares that it could have been losing to, but that seems to me the best chance. If there was a tie in 6, then Turdz has made a real mistake this game. Specifically, if it was Shiva in 6. And yeah, I think if Shiva in 6 tied and Turdz didn't play it, that's a real blunder. If Shiva in 6 didn't tie, there can be some weird ties. I think 1 is still, on average, a better try than 7, even if it just like can be taken and concede everything. Like maybe then you go 6 or 5 or something. I do think, but I don't think anything there was any good. I think the question is entirely, and I should be able to answer this perhaps, but a lot of moves out. Did 6 hold or not? Because I don't think another answer is coming. 2 seemed like a really good response to 3 here, right? Turd's hand really did not want to go to the right, and 2 seemed strong, but I could also... No, 2 seems very good to me. I think that was a good reaction. I think both of Akiyama's reactions here have been very good, and Turdz has simply been in trouble. I was assuming Akiyama would go 9 here. And, right, if you go, say, A8, 5, 4, and 9, something 6, it's currently 7-3, that'll make it 6-4, you block 5, you win. If something 5, you can never set up anything, I go 6, I win. So you presumably have to go 4. But the problem is you can't... Well, you can take something in 4, but if you take something with a Phoenix, I go 2-8-A-6 Kajada in 5, and I win. You're just down too much. I bet Akiyama's moved. I'm incorrect. Akiyama has not yet moved. That's actually vaguely surprising to me. But I do think 9 wins. Maybe I'm just missing something. And maybe there's like a fancier way to do it. It'd be funny if you could walk into the combo and still win, but I do not believe you can. So I think it's over. I'm very curious. I'm gonna bring up the solver here because yeah, I want to know if there was a tie in 6. It's nice to be able to check. Anytime someone plays one of these games and wants to know if something ties, do let me know. Like, curiosity is a powerful thing, and it's nice to have answers quickly receivable. So I'm guessing we're seeing the move in 9. Though there easily could be other moves that win. No. Akiyama calculates out 4. I kind of assumed this didn't work, but thought it would be funny if it did. So maybe he was spending his time solving that funniness. So there is the plus in 5. Ah, he has a plus back in 6. That's rude. Okay, fair enough. And the plus back in 6 actually does flip back quite a few things. So even the one kind of trap here didn't work, which makes this quite a rude way to finish the game. Alright, so Akiyama's hand was 2699. Oh, I think I put the red hand in wrong. Yeah, I did. 2699 and 861A. That's the second turn hand. The first turn hand was 9864, 9945, A177, 727A, and 9495. And I will shortly have an answer. Was it lost? And was there a tie that was findable? Turdz goes A1775. Yeah, I missed that there was the plus back here, but 537A is going to land in 6, and then Phoenix will land in 9. Cute way to finish the game. So, first of all, okay, 1, 2, he went in 7, 8. Is there any ties here? There are no ties here. And Akiyama had 3 winning moves. He could play that card in 4, that card in 9, or 2, 8, A6, and 6 was a third win. But Akiyama definitely chose the prettiest win here. Can't argue with that. All right, let's go back a sec. Was there a tie move 3? That is the only question. There is a tie move 3. There is 1 tie and 27 losses. So not an easy position to play by any means. Final score 6-4. And Akiyama advances to the finals. But let's switch over. How do I get there? Here. Solver. Yeah. Alright, I'm going to click AI move, and it will make the tie. Didn't look what it was. Hey! We did it. So my point here was, if we put something else here, if we put this in 6, right, then I don't ever have any threat to take 5. And if we put something like this 6, sure, I can take 5, but I can't take back 6, right? I can take 5, but I don't get 6 back. If we put something like this 6, I can't take it back from 5. So this was the only card where, like, we threaten 5, but also your safety in 9 doesn't flip 6, so I can just take 5 with A177. And I just was hoping, I didn't really calculate out, but that if you played, something like here, that I would have ties in, I was hoping 9 with something like this. Does this tie? This does tie. Does it tie against other moves? 1 tie here. Okay, this one would be harder to find. And this one. Alright, so, oops, not that. So this tied against most things. Useful to still have 9945 in the hand, because it means against captures you have a way to capture back, whether immediately or in a turn. But the tricky one is this. 1 tie, it wasn't there. I'm just going to have it tell me I'm lazy. Where's the tie? Ooh, that is not easy to find. That is not easy to find. Really relevant, you have the same wall here, right? And you have 10s covered here, right? So you have Phoenix and 8 here. Yep. And if something like this, you have here. Oh, is that right? That is right. Oh, that's very hard to find. And that's hard to find at distance. So what I bet happened is Turdz considered this move and just couldn't find anything here. because this is an incredibly difficult move to see at distance. And even when you're here, this is by no means an easy move to find. So I think he went, okay, the standard stuff doesn't work. Let's go here. But it was one of those things where looking deeper into the standard move, this was the move that kind of had a chance to hold. And I think that's a strength of mine, is that I just kind of make this move and try to figure it out later. But I can see the worry. This is very unpleasant to defend. So here obviously gets comboed, and that's horrendous. Take safety. You have very little to the right. Yeah, and you never have this tying because you don't have the recapture in one. You just can't sequence the cards usefully. Right, something like this. Obviously, if you go here hoping they take this way, it's funny, but they're not going to fall for it. No, very curious game. I think that was a really hard one to defend from the start. Actually, let's go back a sec. I'm curious, was there a win against this? Because when Akiyama's reply gives exactly one tie, it could be, and I think it very easily could be the case, that Akiyama's move is excellent and just puts a ton of pressure on. But it also means probably a lot of moves were high pressure, and there is the question: was one of them able to break through, and if so, which move? And it's currently calculating that, but it seems to think it was ties everywhere, which means Akiyama made a fantastic move, really high pressure, that he played almost instantly. My instinct was to go here, which I felt terrible about, but it was slightly more directed for the hand to work. Good chance it was losing. I'm having it check now, and then we'll end the video. Or a good chance, if it wasn't losing, that it would also be met by an equally high pressure move, and our next defense would be a nightmare. Alright, Solver suggesting looks pretty similar, though would take a more in-depth look to really get an evaluation, but looks not meaningfully different. Yeah. Alright. Interesting game. Really tough defense, really good attack by Akiyama. I think was very precise in his pressure.